Hello everyone, I am Dr. Alex Vieira, Director of Recruitment and Admissions here at Concordia Lutheran Seminary. I would like to welcome you to the recorded version of our information session. We are so happy to share with you what we are all about and how you can be a part of it. Now, this information session will cover many things, including some common questions, some questions that you might have. But let this be the beginning of our conversation. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us and we will be glad to talk to you. Now, I'll turn over to Dr. Jim Gimbel, the President of Concordia Lutheran Seminary.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Gimbel, and I'm really glad that you're joining us tonight. This is a marvelous opportunity for you to learn more about Concordia Lutheran Seminary here in Edmonton, Alberta. We hope that this information session provides you with enough information to help you make a decision about whether you would be a good fit for us, whether you are interested in studying to be a deacon or a pastor in Lutheran Church Canada or North American Lutheran Church in the Canadian Mission District, or if you just have questions about things and want to know more about what we do here at Concordia Lutheran Seminary. I hope that this information session is really useful and helpful to you. Please feel free to contact us if you have any further questions. Thank you. We'll roll with the presentation. So here you can see the building, Concordia Lutheran Seminary. It's our mission to form servants for Jesus' sake. As you can see, that cross is a prominent part of our presence in the community. And even from sunrise to sunset, it's a reminder of the Christ that we proclaim. So this is something that we hope is helpful for you if you're a prospective student, or even if you're just getting used to the idea or thinking through what it might be like at any point along your journey of discernment. We hope that this is a helpful thing. Concordia Lutheran Seminary is here with one purpose in mind. We really essentially are here to form servants for Jesus' sake. We welcome you to this session. You already have been introduced to Dr. Vieira and to me, but you'll find that in the course of this presentation, we'll also introduce you to some of the other faculty through their photos, the staff, and also let you see what our student population is like. All right, the Concordia part of Concordia Lutheran Seminary. Concordia is a common word that you probably have become familiar with. It's at Concordia Publishing House, one of our providers. It's at Concordia University, the university across the street. It's the first word in Concordia Lutheran Theological Seminary in St. Catharines, and it's part of our title. It's a common word for Lutherans who profess the authority of Scripture and hold to the teachings of 16th century Lutherans. They're summarized in the Book of Concord, which was compiled between 1530 and 1580, but it's still amazingly relevant today. The Lutheran part, we are primarily sponsored by Lutheran Church Canada. It's a confessional Lutheran church body, part of the International Lutheran Council, which is a much broader-based Lutheran affiliation group. We also have a relationship with the North American Lutheran Churches, the Canadian Mission District. All of our faculty are LCC Lutherans. The seminary, the word seminary means seedbed. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with anything? We know that Jesus often refers to things in a growing context, a growing culture, the sower who sows the seed. But here at the seminary, believing Lutheran Christians can attend and from kind of seedlings of faith be turned into or formed into fruitful trees that bear strong witness to Christ in ministry. And that really is what a seminary does. It's a seedbed for growth and development. In order to thrive, we need strong faculty and staff. Along the bottom, from left to right, Dr. Sam Thompson. He's from our sister seminary in India. He's here teaching our systematic or doctrinal theology. You'll see Dr. John Helwig. He is our associate professor of historical theology. Dr. Jen Frim, next to him, is a deacon of Lutheran Church Canada. She teaches both some of the Bible classes and also Christian Ed and other things that are relevant to the diaconate. You've already met Dr. Alex Vieira. He's from our sister church body in Brazil. Next to him are registrar and librarian Anna Yang. She actually hails from South Korea. And at the far right, our administrative assistant, Danielle Glubish, who is from nearby Stony Plain congregation, St. Matthew's. In this year, we have great diversity in our student body. I'm just going to touch on some of the diversity that's there. Ben Rast is kind of second career. He's already had some ministry experience, but he's working in social services with some of the developmentally disabled, and he is coming in with eyes wide open about what the ministry is. We're really glad to have him here. Connor Buck is a full-time student, but on his internship year, he's out in Waterloo right now, married with children. Also to the right of Connor's picture, top right, Henak Teklamariam. He's originally from Eritrea. He's also married, has 3 children. He's doing his vicarage year out in Golden, BC. And one of the differences between Connor and Henak is that Connor will come back here for his 4th year of studies. Henak is completing his final year of studies. Sometimes we do that with married students so that they don't have lots of extensive moves back and forth across the country. But each of them is having a different kind of experience and will be prepared then for their ordination through that vicarage or internship year. On the lower level, Paul Fredrickson is one of our NALC students. And again, because of that relationship we have with North American Lutheran Church's Canadian Mission District, we're forming, along with NALC congregations and supervisors, we're forming through our academic work the pastors who will serve in that church body. In the bottom middle, Martin Yeknaf, he's Brazilian and has a German name, part of the heritage of immigration into Brazil, but he's already had some prior theological studies at the seminary in Brazil. He's just recently married and has come in. He'll do 2 years of academic work and then probably his final year of internship or vicarage as well, staying here in Canada. And to his right, on the bottom right, one of our deacon students, Samantha Neeb. Samantha's doing her work right now on a part-time basis out in Trinity Richmond and the North Vancouver area. Killarney Lutheran Church, but she's taking part-time classes now. She'll be on campus full-time part of next year. So this shows you a bit of the variety of students that we have as they go through the program. So if you're thinking, well, I'm not just out of university, I'm a midlife, second career, a choice, then there's a place for you. If you're going through university now, there's a place for you. If you're from a different country and have a different background, there's a place for you. If you're part of North American Lutheran Church or possibly some other church body, there's a place for you here. And if you're thinking about the diaconate, there's a place for you here. And we are very thrilled to be able to have this kind of diversity here. So the mission of Concordia Lutheran Seminary is very simple. We exist with one mission, one primary purpose. We form servants for Jesus' sake. Just want to unpack that really briefly. The formation process includes a whole variety of things. It's not just that you take coursework. We have students involved in congregational life and field education. We have a year of internship, whether you're a deacon or a pastoral student. We form through the role of the Dean of Student Life and adjunct kind of group, the Ministerial Program Committee. Faculty give very personalized feedback on a lot of the papers, and that's all to help form you. Not not unlike the way God very personally formed first Adam and then Eve in the garden. We don't mass produce them. We're not like a factory that produces pastors and deacons. We form servants one by one. Second, the second part I want to look at is that third word, the word servants. We aren't forming lords of the church who will come into a congregation and demand their own way. We're forming people who are willing to be like Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. That servant model is a very important part of what we do. And then the final phrase in this, we do it for Jesus' sake, not for our own sake, not just because we have a building here, not just because we have a board of regents, but it's really all about Jesus' sake. And that's part of what we do. Everything from start to finish is about pointing to Jesus Christ, the crucified and resurrected Lord and Savior. This mission statement is based on 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 5, and we hold that very dear. It's been in place for a long time, and it really is simple enough and powerful enough, very profound, so that we anticipate it will carry us forward into the future. The vision is that we want to make sure that those who are formed as servants are able to think theologically and act pastorally. Think theologically means you're informed in the theological portions. You know the Bible, Old and New Testament. If you're a pastoral student, the Hebrew and the Greek. We also want you to not only know the Bible, but the confessions and the doctrines that proceed from that. And that means thinking theologically about the history of the church and the history of church and interaction with culture, thinking theologically even about the practical things like preaching and leading worship and doing counseling and pastoral care. Those are all things where you need your theological acumen to be able to do it in the best way. But it's also about acting pastorally. Ultimately, we don't just want egghead theologians who only think theologically but can't really perform in a way that ministers and serves the needs of congregational members. We want each person to be able to come with a pastoral heart, which is related to the way Jesus refers to himself as the good shepherd who cares for the sheep, who feeds and nourishes and protects and leads. And that's what pastoral ministry is about for pastors as well as those who are in the diaconate, that you serve with care and compassion toward others. So a little quick tour of the building. This is the outside from the Ada Boulevard. Sort of behind us to the right would be the North Saskatchewan River. We're right alongside a green space. There's a golf course right down below the hill. And behind us would be the Wayne Gretzky Boulevard. Here's another shot of the exterior. You'll see off to the left that swooping gray area that leads to the main entrance. And we don't have an entrance from Ada Boulevard, but from the street entrance on 71st. We do have a parking lot. It's free parking for students, faculty, and staff, so that's an advantage. We try to keep our lot plowed in the winter and carefully groomed in the summer, but it's a very convenient thing to just walk right in off the parking lot. It's adjacent to our building. Our chapel is a phenomenal facility. We love the fact that it has a south face, looks out over the North Saskatchewan River, but also when those shades are pulled apart, you can see the river valley, the beauty of God's creation, sometimes an eagle or a coyote that's out there. But also, the Wayne Gretzky Drive is there. You can see the cars that are going by, a reminder that God has put us here for a missional purpose, to witness to the world about Christ. Those who are going by need to hear about Jesus Christ. And also the high rises that are across the river that remind us of the masses that are here and need to hear. So here we're looking south from the chapel entrance. You can see the baptismal font. The chairs are oriented in that direction, but there's a very prominent structure that has the sign, the emphasis of the cross. And then you'll see that we have three crosses really that are there. The backdrop, the one that's a crucifix with Christ on it, and then the open cross, reminding us Christ was not only crucified, but was raised from the dead. We see that again in the picture on the right, that prominence, and you'll see that there's the horizon with the sun behind there. The greenery that's there also reminds us that faith is a living thing, a growing thing for each of us. Our Advent chapel, you can see the blue color, you can see the Advent wreath, and here we're oriented a little bit differently. One of the things about our chapel is that the furniture is not fixed. The altar, the lectern and pulpit, the crosses, the prie-dieu, even the chairs are flexible enough so that we can orient toward the south, we can orient toward the east, which we often do when the sun is riding low on the horizon in the middle of winter, so that it doesn't blind people while we're in chapel. But it gives us flexibility. The fixed or freestanding altar allows students, when they're leading chapel, to be able to get accustomed to both kinds of altars. The lectern or pulpit moves from side to side because not all congregations have it on the same side, and just gives a greater degree of flexibility for learning. We have, by the way, chapel Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 10:10. On Wednesday, we have all campus Bible study. We'll get to that in a minute. And on Friday, we have a devotion, all of it trying to model the variety of things where spiritual leadership happens in congregational life. Here you'll see the Seminary Guild members. The Seminary Guild, one of the things that they do is present pastoral care companions to their students. They provide a number of ways of support, crosses, spectral crosses, gift cards for purchasing food every month, and a number of other things. You can see in the picture on the right that they join us for chapel often when they're meeting. Students are expected and put on a rotation for leading chapel. Here you'll see each of them doing their role, their opportunity. Chapel is for us both a spiritual nurture piece and also a formative piece. It's a teaching chapel, and that allows students to try different things and to do, whether it's a all liturgical service or whether it's a preaching service. They get a variety of opportunities for that. We are very thankful for the library we have, over 22,000 volumes in hard copy. You'll see some of the students. This is not a posed picture, but some of the students are there talking after a class. And behind them is the reference area. To the right of them is the stacks down in the basement. And we also have study carols and just a variety of things that make the library a very accessible thing. But you see that reference to DTL2. That's the Digital Theological Library. We are a partner member of the Digital Theological Library. 450,000 electronic resources that are available. It's journals, it's books, it's most of our Lutheran core, and we have easy access for all of our students through DTL2. So it extends our library holdings considerably. These are some of the rooms. Inside the library is the Eifert room. It's a small room, and here you can see our board is in session there. They just were around the table when the picture was taken. But this is often used as a classroom. Behind, you see there's a monitor there, but to the right of that is a glass window that goes through the back, shows through the back of the library, but also out onto the parking lot. So you'll see how close that parking lot is. We have two classrooms downstairs that are specifically dedicated as classrooms. One on the left is the Schwerman room. That has the most up-to-date and best of our electronic online resources, best camera, best speaker and microphone, and the biggest of the smart screens. You'll also see that there are small tables, and they're very flexible so that you can maneuver them into a wide variety of configurations for classes. In the room on the right, the Eberhardt room, it almost looks more like a boardroom. Those chairs are very comfortable. They swivel. They're on rollers. And those tables also can be moved very quickly and very easily. It's a little bit smaller, so we don't use it for the big events, but it's a very comfortable classroom. And that's where we're at right now. You'll see me standing against the back wall. A number of our students we've just been through COVID. A number of them really have a preference for in-person classes, but also realize the great blessing of being able to have courses online. And so we do a number of classes that are available in blended, both in-person and online configurations. There are some classes that can't be done effectively online. You need, for example, the chapel itself to be able to lead worship. And so the worship class is done in person. The preaching class is in person. Counseling class in person. But many of them can be done online, and so we have online students joining us. On the right, you see what a completely online course might look like. This is actually 3 of our synodical presidents giving a Timothy lecture in the Timothy lecture 2 years ago. Downstairs, we also have a fellowship area, and you can see the kitchenette that's available for students or faculty use. Once in a while, we have all-campus meals. Often, we'll host meals when the board is on campus, and when students are here, students and faculty and staff have lunch together and just interact back and forth across the tables. To the right is the food pantry. It has donated items that students can take free of charge and use at home. We have a student study area called the Missionary Study Center, and in that room are a number of resources that are available. Often students will study there before and after their classes, between their classes, and if they want to have a discussion about something after the class has ended, they can do that in there. There's also a monitor if they want to watch a course or a webinar or something else together. Here we show the students with their field education supervisors. Actually, one of our students was sick that day and wasn't able to be present, but we give an assignment for the first 2 years. Each student will be at a different congregation year 1 and year 2, and there they are involved in congregational life under pastoral supervision. That is the sunset over our little building tour. Just another snowy day in Edmonton. So, what are the seminary offerings? We offer a theological diploma. This is a necessary piece for anyone who wants to be rostered on Lutheran Church Canada rosters on the official roster of Synod. So while students are going through getting their Master of Divinity or their DPS, their diploma in parish services, they will also be working toward a theological degree, a theological diploma that allows them to work in the church. We offer open studies courses. Many of our regular courses, graduate level courses, are offered for someone who wants to join in, either in person or online. We have continuing education for church workers. We're involved in some of the provincial or regional conferences, leadership there, and other things. We have Quest courses twice a year in the fall and in the winter or spring. They're free of charge for laity, for congregations. Some of them just all join together in their congregational basement and then talk about it. They're available for church workers or clergy. We also are involved in both colloquy, which is a way for someone already certified, already ordained, to come into the roster of Lutheran Church Canada. or for pastors with alternate training formation, PAT. We have a student right now going through the short-term class, taking it for a PAT formation. The official programs of the seminary, a Master of Divinity, which is the coin of the realm. It's 100 credits, and those are earned both in academic work and 6 credits for the internship year. There's a graduate diploma in parish services, GDPS. That's the deacon, the diaconate program. That's 49 credits. It generally is completed, the Master of Divinity in 4 years, the GDPS in 2 years. And we do offer, for people who just want to take a few open studies classes and cluster them together, we offer a graduate certificate in theological studies, which is 24 credits. Often the Master of Divinity is 2-1-1. In other words, 2 years academic, 1 year of internship, 1 final year of academic on campus. But that can be changed so that you do 2 or 3 and then 1 final year. Students would petition for that, and if faculty thinks it's a wise or expedient thing, often we've granted that. The deacon program, the parish services program, is generally 1 year of academic with some things late spring and early fall, and then 1 year of full-time internship. The diploma in theological studies is really self-paced and happens through open studies courses, which are not really it's not really a full program. It's just an outcome. So what does this mean? MDiv, Master of Divinity, I've referred to this already, but just to be sure, it's for pastors. GDPS is the degree behind the diaconate, deacons who work in Lutheran Church Canada. And the GDTS is for theological enrichment, generally people who are interested in theology and want to go a step or 2 further. And then what? After you've completed a Master of Divinity, you're eligible and received a theological diploma, by the way, then you're eligible for ordination and your first call. And that's also an assignment to the first call. That happens after a conversation about placement and other things. The GDPS, the deacons, are then, after they've completed all the components, they're consecrated as deacons and also assigned to their first call. The graduate degree in theological studies is really equipping people to serve Christ in their congregations. It's more of a field of interest, field of study. It's not leading toward a particular vocation in the church. All right. Here at the seminary, we're kind of divided into the historic classical departments. EXE is the prefix before courses that are specifically connected to the exegetical department. That's Bible studies, Old and New Testament. SYS is the prefix for courses in the systematic or doctrinal area. HIS is the prefix for historical Lutheran and church history, going from the time of Christ all the way up into modern history. And PRX, our majority of the classes are PRX coded praxis and part of the practical department. For example, the counseling and the preaching and the worship leading, but also pastoral theology. How do you think about the different challenges that face those who are in congregational ministry? And that practical theology piece is there as an important part of that formational process. Contextual education, I've referred to already. We have coursework, which is very academic, but then some of the courses have practical contextual expectations. For example, in the Christian education course, students are expected to sit in on a Sunday school or a vacation Bible school session. They're expected to help in preparing and leading a Bible class in a congregation. Chapel is a contextual experience for worship leadership. The local field education assignments are for those first 2 years. And then, as I've mentioned, we have a full-time, full-year internship or vicarage, depending on what program you're in. But that really is where you begin to apply in a new and unique way, something that's more closely related to what a full-time parish-based minister of the Word would do. Seminary context includes things like an annual retreat. We have a cohort model. Often our students are clustered even across programs and across years. So we might put first and second year students together in a course, all of the students for second and fourth year into a class. They're all together right now in the Lutheran Church in North America class that's going on in the short term. But that's to help build that sense of community in a cohort. We have common conversations in the lunch area downstairs. The Student Association allows students to connect with one another and do things that are more recreational or fellowship oriented. And a popular thing in the past has been foosball, playing foosball. And students will occasionally even get pretty aggressive about that in a tournament. Admission requirements. In order to get into the seminary, you need to be a member of the Lutheran Church Canada congregation, or if you are part of North American Lutheran Church formation, North American Lutheran Church congregation. You need a pastoral recommendation plus recommendations from 3 others, non-family. You'll need an accredited bachelor degree, and it can be in any of a number of things. We have students who inquire, well, I've got an accounting degree. Will that help? Well, if it's a degree, we will consider that. It can be very helpful. Often those who are good with numbers and accounting can be they can find that their language skills are better. There's some organizational mind feature that helps those who are good with math and numbers to be good with languages. There are, in order to be admitted and accepted for enrollment, there is a theological competency exam or a series of exams, both with Hebrew and Greek, but also Old Testament, New Testament, and history and doctrine. I already referred to Greek and Hebrew. If you don't do the competency exams, you can bring in coursework. And for anyone who is not a native English speaker, you need to demonstrate English proficiency. Application process is done online. Here's the address if you're interested, but it's available on our website. The deadline for this academic year is April 1st, so don't waste a lot of time there. It's a pretty complicated process. It asks for a lot of very thoughtful and thorough questions to be answered. So we don't want you to be surprised and think, oh, you can just do it in a few moments. Financial aid is available. We're very thankful to God for giving us resources to be able to provide financial aid. It helps. It comes from personal, family, and congregational support. We already give a deep discount for LCC and Sister Lutherans. But there's also an online financial aid application. The goal is that we want to provide and cover at least 85% of the costs through financial aid. We don't want anyone to accumulate additional financial aid or additional debt while they're studying at seminary, because then it passes on the debt into the first call and even beyond that first call. We have a number of congregations and individuals who decide they want to adopt a student. We run that through our office here, through our financial aid department. But those financial aid, those adopting individuals or congregations find great pleasure in getting to know the students. There's generally correspondence that goes back and forth, email or letters, and it's a very fulfilling and rewarding thing both ways. Seminary Guild, as I already mentioned, provides a number of kinds of financial support for students and their families. So you might have some questions. Remember, no question is too silly, but do we have dormitories or housing that we provide here? And the answer is no, unfortunately, we don't. We have a number of good friends in the community who have apartments or who have rooms available in their houses, lower level basements, and we can try and connect you if you're looking for housing when you come here. Are there age limits? No, we've had 21-year-olds and we've had 58-year-olds start with their seminary education. One of our prospective students right now is just looking toward an early retirement and interested in coming to the seminary. Is seminary for women as well as men? The answer is yes, but the Master of Divinity program in Lutheran Church Canada is only for males. We only ordain men, but the diaconate is open for both, and North American Lutheran Church has women who are pastors as well. Question, what if you're not sure about ministry? And I think the easy answer is everybody wonders about that sometimes. There are periods of doubt, periods when even experienced pastors, experienced deacons kind of wonder, what am I doing? Sometimes it feels like I'm just running around in circles. But if you're wondering whether it's a calling for you, ask your pastor, talk to people who know you and trust you. Generally, people who are thinking about ministry have had those thoughts for quite a while. And it begins maybe as a nudge in childhood or in confirmation or in youth ministry, but it's good to ask those questions and talk about it and pray about it, of course. And I think it can be helpful if you talk to us at the seminary about what's involved, and we can try and help answer some of your questions, some of your concerns. Sometimes it's not you, but it's your spouse or your family. And don't be afraid to let us know that, and we'd love to be able to talk more about that. You might ask, what if I've not been a great student in the past? The program here is academically rigorous. It's a graduate level program. But often once students come here and they have their focus on what they want to do, they find that there's a great love for theology, a great love for the kinds of tasks that a deacon or a minister is going to do. And the studies come a little bit easier because of that sense of focus and sense of purpose. We do give grades, and you have to keep your grades up, but we generally allow time and the expectation to be able to do that. What is your favorite food? If you were on live, we might let you answer that question. You'll probably be asked that question once you get here. Sometimes that's a opening retreat first question or something like that. So other questions that you might have. Do we, as a seminary, offer the Greek and Hebrew classes? At one time, we did. We alternated with Concordia University across the street. Because of resources, we no longer do offer that here. But there are online options. Please contact us, and we'd be glad to put you in touch with some of the very good online programs to pick up your Greek and your Hebrew. You can do that in half to a full year. Studying on your own independently for either or even both languages. You might wonder, are all seminary students nerdy? I think not, but they are unique. They sometimes stand out. They're a little bit different than the run-of-the-mill crowd that hangs around at the bars. And I think you probably it would be good for you to get to know some of the other students and discover that in many ways they're people just like you. We all have our interests and our likes and dislikes and our little nerdy side, I think, but also a love for people and a love for the Lord Jesus Christ. You might be asking, what should I do to prepare for seminary? Be involved in your church, get as much experience as you can, do some reading and theology, prepare for the competency exams, get input from others, and just know that by asking questions, you can pave some of the way so that you're ready. Some people wonder, it's a master's program. Is there a master's thesis or is there a final exam? We at one time also did have a thesis. We no longer have a thesis. We have extra coursework. But there is a final exam, an oral exam, but it's not designed to trip you up or to do anything other than draw out from you the kinds of things that you've been learning over the 2 years if you're a deacon or the 4 years if you're a pastoral student. And it's actually a great thrill to be able to see students and faculty talking together about great theological questions. So don't worry about that. Don't let that stop you for any reason. You might be wondering, I've got all these Bitcoin. Can I pay for school with Bitcoin? Sorry. No. And with the recent scandal, even more so. And sorry, we don't take comic books for tuition either, although some of them might be quite valuable, but maybe you want to get rid of them at the best price and then pay in good old Canadian dollars. So you're wondering, how do I follow up? Who can I talk to? You've already heard from Dr. Alex Vieira. He works with recruitment firsthand and works through the admission process. You can contact me at any point, and both of our emails are there. It's just really simple. If you know our website, concordiasem.ab.ca, just put first letter of first name and full last name that follows after that. And so it's A. Vieira or J. Gimbel at concordiasem.ab.ca. And we'd love to hear from you and love to have more conversation. Furthermore, if you're ever in the area and want to stop by, give us a call. We'll take time out of our day for you, might buy you lunch or make sure you have a cup of coffee. It would be great for you to sit in on chapel. You can sit in on a class, but drop by at any point. Let us know what you need, and we'll do what we can to help you discern and get prepared for coming. Thank you for being part of this. Please stay in touch, and we'll hope to hear from you soon.